Hello and welcome back to Sustainable Teacher. If it is your first time here, my name is Leticia and I'm glad to meet you. And if you've been here before, I'm happy to see you again. In today's video we keep going with the unit about the nutrition function, talking about the second system involved, which is the respiratory system. So, if this video sounds interesting to you, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. As in the previous units, we will divide this video into two parts. First, the anatomy, the physical description of the respiratory system, and then the physiology, so how the respiratory system works. Let's start with the anatomy, and I think you should already know how is the respiratory system, but let's deepen a little bit our knowledge about it. So, as you know, the respiratory system has the function to take the oxygen from the air, transfer it to the blood, and then take from the blood the carbon dioxide to release it again to the air. It's formed by the respiratory tract starting in the nose, and there is a few tubes that will go to the lungs. So the respiratory system is formed by the respiratory tubes or tracts and the lungs. And these organs will perform 3 steps in the respiration, in the breathing process, okay? So first, inspiration, that is inhaling or taking air, then the exchange of gases between oxygen and carbon dioxide, and finally the expiration, so the exhalation of air again. Now let's remember the parts. The first part is the nose, specifically the tubes will start, the respiratory tube or tract will start in the nostrils, which are the name of the holes of our nose. Then once the air goes inside the nose, it will join. You remember from the previous video the pharynx? In this case, the epiglottis will be open, so the air will go through the respiratory tract, not the digestive tract, okay? And after going through the epiglottis in the pharynx, the next part in the respiratory system is the larynx, okay, which is this part of the neck where we can vibrate some cartilaginous tissue, and we can make our voice sound as it is. We can make noises, we can talk thanks to the cartilage and muscles we have in the larynx, okay? After that, it will go to the trachea. The trachea is a very funny tube because it has rings of cartilage around. They are not fully closed. They are just like more or less 80% the ring, and then behind there is a bit of smooth muscle which can contract involuntarily, of course. Sometimes, imagine that we are having an allergy attack, probably, theoretically, to protect ourselves, this muscle will contract and we close the trachea so that allergen can get inside our body. Sometimes we have too exaggerated answer in our body, and this can suffocate us, and this is not good. But this is an illness, it's not like a normal process. After the trachea will divide into 2 tubes called the bronchi, okay? And from each bronchi we will have smaller ramifications called bronchioles. And finally, each bronchiole will get to a kind of bag called the pulmonary alveoli. The alveoli are the bags with a very thin cell layer, similar to skin but very thin, that are in contact with the vessels, with the capillaries, and it's in this point of the alveoli where thanks to the thin cell layer, the oxygen and the carbon dioxide can diffuse, can pass to the cells, through the cells, to the capillary, to the blood. We will talk more about this later. After all the respiratory tracts, we have to talk about the lungs. We have two lungs, right and left. In the pictures, you should always imagine that you are looking. I'm gonna take imagine that this is the book, okay, and you have the lungs picture here. Let's make two lungs, and in just a second. This is a person, one lung, another lung. Okay, and the arms. Okay, can you see? Yes. These are, imagine we have all the brightening here, and then we have the lungs. So, if we read like this, to check what is the left and what is the right, it is necessary to put our page of the book like over us. Only this way we can know what is right and what is left. What will be in your right is gonna be your right, what will be in your left is gonna be your left. And by the way, this video is gonna be mirroring, so probably it's gonna be the opposite. But remember, if you're reading like this, put your book like this, and you will know what, or your exam, maybe. Put your exam like this, and you will know what is right and what is left in the picture, okay? Because it's not mirrored, it's inverted, okay? So, we have two lungs, right and left. This is my right, okay? In the video we will be probably left, I think. But, lungs, right lung, left lung, they have like spongy appearance because they need to have space for air to flow through, okay? They are protected by our rib cage, okay? And underneath there is a muscle which is called the diaphragm. It will help us to inhale and get the air inside the lungs and exhale and get the air outside the lungs. We will talk about the diaphragm in the physiology part a little bit more, okay? And the lungs are surrounded by a membrane called the pleura. And there are two layers with liquid in between, interstitial liquid by the way, to protect even more the lungs, because they are really sensitive organs, but really important. We take the oxygen from them. Now let's start with physiology. So, there are three steps in this process: inspiration, exchange of gases, and expiration, okay? When we inspire, the diaphragm will contract, and when it contracts, it goes down, making the rib cage bigger. We also have muscles between the ribs. All those muscles will grow to make the space, the rib cage, bigger. And when we do that, that happens is that we are making more space inside, so more air can go inside because now we have more volume, and we will create what we call a negative pressure. So the pressure of the air inside the lungs when we grow the space is gonna be lower than the pressure of the air outside. So the air will try to compensate this, and it will be easier to inhale the air due to this negative pressure inside. This is for the inspiration. Then all the air, thanks to this negative pressure, will go through all the respiratory tract to the alveoli. In this moment we will have the gas exchange. The blood flowing through the capillary vessels will be full of carbon dioxide, and the air which is inside right now inside the alveoli is full of oxygen. So again, it's a matter of concentration. More oxygen in the alveoli, more carbon dioxide in the blood. They will try to compensate through the membrane. Remember, the membrane of the alveoli is just a simple layer, cell layer, okay? So they will compensate the concentration, they will diffuse from one side to the other. From the side that has more oxygen to the side that has less oxygen, and from the side that has more carbon dioxide to the side that has less carbon dioxide. They will try to equilibrate. In this way, oxygen will go from the air, from the alveoli to the blood, to the capillary vessels, and carbon dioxide from the blood, from the capillary vessels, to the air in the alveoli. And after that, we have the third step, which is the expiration or exhalation. In this case, for the expiration, the diaphragm will relax, okay, and it will the rib cage also the rib muscles will relax. The rib cage will have a smaller volume. They will like kind of pump the air outside. They will create a positive pressure inside, more pressure. The air inside the lungs is gonna be more pressured than outside, so they will pump all the air outside. In this case, the air is gonna be more concentrated in carbon dioxide than the air that entered as before. Okay, and finally, a little bit about the diaphragm. It's a semi-voluntary muscle. We can control, if we want, our breathing rate, right? So I can decide if I want to do like a deep inspiration like this, and I can control also the speed I will release the air. But if we are not focused on this process will happen automatically. Or if we are running and doing exercise, the rate is gonna change automatically depending on the oxygen need in our cells. So that's why it's a semi-involuntary muscle. And that's it for the video today. There are three taking into account the lymphatic system for the next video. They are gonna be shorter, so that's why we will have two systems in one video. And if you have any doubts about the respiratory system, please leave it in a comment, and of course, see you soon.